All right, 8:04 here on Tuesday. Let's head to Sterling Heights this morning. There's the halo you can see there on Hall Road. The city just scored a big win as one of only 16 communities nationwide to join a first-of-its-kind program. This is the Housing Supply Accelerator Challenge. It helps cities find smart new ways to build more homes, make housing more affordable, and strengthen communities. Sterling Heights will get special support, learn from other cities, and work with experts to protect existing homes and create some brand new ones. So joining me this morning to help explain what this is Sterling Heights Mayor Michael Taylor. Thank you so much for coming in. We've got two things to talk about. We'll start with housing though. I will be honest, I have never heard of this Housing Accelerator Challenge. What is this?
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either.
Okay, so on the same page.
We're on the same page, so it's something new. I believe it's the first cohort to exist. There's 15 or 16 communities nationwide that were selected by the National League of Cities. So the National League of Cities is an organization that, just as it sounds, it's a league of cities, and they provide resources to cities. I'm involved in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and these organizations are really focused on cities and what cities can do to improve the quality of life, improve housing, make their cities safer. And so the National League of Cities, in partnership with the American Planning Association, created this program to challenge cities to think deeper about their housing stock and to provide us with resources and strategies to improve the housing stock that we have, rehab houses that it may have deferred maintenance issues, and really work on figuring out ways that we can keep people in the city of Sterling Heights so that they can age in place, whether they're empty nesters, whether they're seniors, active seniors, seniors that need assistance, or people like you and I that are on the younger end of the scale. Maybe
thank you for saying that, by the way.
Yeah, we're getting older, Nick.
Don't remind me.
We're still not that old yet. So, but really, it's looking comprehensively at all the different types of people that you want in your community and how we can address the housing needs.
Okay, so I understand a city's number one priority, or maybe not number one, but a priority is retaining residents and attracting new residents, right? But I never thought of the city as being in the real estate business in terms of trying to figure out how to, rehab homes or build new ones. Is that the goal here, or are you really trying to find different ways to keep your priorities straight?
Well, look, to me, I think that the housing shortage that we have in the state of Michigan, in the United States, and really it's not unique to the United States, is one of the great challenges that I think policymakers face right now. I tell my colleagues on the city council that this is a moral issue. Providing housing for people who either can't afford housing, they can't attain housing in an area where they need to live, they're underhoused. These are not just, this is not just something that we say the private market can figure it out. We, I believe, as policymakers, have a moral obligation to make sure that we have housing for as many people as possible. So, yeah, we're going to partner with any organization we can, and we're going to partner with private developers, and we're looking at a number of different strategies. And like I said, it's not just, hey, we've got residents that live here, we want to make sure that they stay here. We're doing a number of things that we think are attractive to people outside of the state of Michigan and outside of Sterling Heights, and we want to make sure that we have the adequate housing for them as well.
Well, that was kind of my next question, too. In terms of policy, what can you do to influence the market or prices in the city of Sterling Heights?
Yeah, so we have a lot of control over our master land use plan, right? We have a lot of control over our zoning ordinances. So looking at ways that we can maybe relax those in certain instances, but also do it in a way that makes sense to our community, because we have a very well built out community already.
There's not a whole lot of room for new houses at this point.
No, there's not. So when we have a developer come that wants to put up an apartment complex, for example, we want to make sure that it fits into the neighborhood that it's going into. Yeah. Other ideas that we have are, other cities, I will say, are looking at, should we get rid of single-family housing in terms of, the zoning, not getting rid of single-family houses, but say,
yeah, it's going to come in and bulldoze the houses.
So we're certainly not, suggesting that, but looking at areas where we can say, could we have a duplex, or could we have some sort of multifamily development in this area that increases the opportunities for other people to live in Sterling Heights and Metro Detroit. And so through this program, we're going to get training. We're going to be able to get technical assistance for our planning department, training for our planning commission and zoning board, and opportunities to obtain grants to try to improve our housing stock and make it so that people can age in place in Sterling Heights.
You know, what's interesting is that you've used the term affordable housing a couple of times now, and every time I hear that come up in a city council meeting or a township board meeting, there's always a stigma. There's always a subset that's always going to fight against you just because they don't like that phrase. How do you integrate that into your plans and discussions without ticking off residents and explaining to them what affordable housing actually is? And you're smiling because you know what happens.
Well, listen, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's affordable housing, attainable housing. I think some people try to come up with these new terms to hide what it is.
Right.
You know, some people call it attainable housing now. Whether it's a market development or an affordable housing development, we're going to have residents who are frustrated about it because they like the way things are right now.
Sure.
And I think that that's not unique to Sterling Heights.
No.
That's every city,
yes.
probably in the country.
Yep.
That they'll say, why are you developing this here? Why don't you find a different part of the city? Or they'll say, why don't you go to a different city? And then if you go to that other part of the city, those same residents are going to come out and say, do it in another area.
Right.
So it's really about educating, and it's about, you know, being frank with our residents that, you know, you have the opportunity to live here in a great area, in a great house, in a great neighborhood. We want to extend that to some other people, but we'll be very mindful of what our existing residents need and try to balance what they need with what the developer is trying to accomplish, which is to provide housing for people that are desperately in need of it. And
it also could help you by increasing your tax base and then improving the quality of life.
Yeah, look, I think by having more residents move to Sterling Heights, it improves our local economy. You know, it gives more resources to our schools. I think that there's an advantage that we have to providing housing, and we're very proud of the park system that we have, our safe city ranking that we're going to talk about later, the local businesses that are employing tens of thousands of people, the cultural opportunities, recreational opportunities. So we want to provide that to as many people as possible, and give them the opportunity to have secure, good housing. And so I hope this program will help.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. We're going to talk about that safe city designation in just 60 seconds or so. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, talking with Sterling Heights Mayor Michael Taylor about a new housing program. But the city also was just named the safest big city in Michigan, according to the latest FBI crime stats. In fact, let's break down those numbers. The city had the lowest violent and property crime rates among Michigan cities with more than 100,000 people. Property crimes dropped a massive 45% from last year, and violent crimes were the lowest in the state with just 305 incidents. So I imagine, Mr. Mayor, that none of this is coincidence. There probably is some thoughtful process happening behind the scenes to make things like this happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is something that we think about, talk about every single day. It's not just our police department, although our police department is first and foremost the best in the state of Michigan, in my opinion, and deserves a lot of the credit. But this is something that touches every department in the city, every corner in the city, every school, every business, our fire department, our engineering, our planning. Every department is focused on public safety and supporting the work that our police department is doing. So, yeah, this is something we're incredibly proud of. We don't take it for granted, and we're going to continue to be proactive every single day.
So how do you get to numbers like this then? How are you proactive?
So it's a collaboration, I think. It's like I said, it's not just our police department, but our police department has a number of programs that they've implemented. The quick response team, for example, this is where when we have an overdose in Sterling Heights, we send out a police officer, a peer recovery coach, a social worker from FAN, which is Face Addiction Now, a great organization, and we proactively address that overdose, and we get that individual resources so that they can get the help that they need. When we get people off of drugs, we know a lot of the crimes that are being committed are people who are addicted to drugs or intoxicated.
Sure.
So getting addiction issues, facing addiction issues and getting those resolved has a huge impact on crime. And it's also good. Our overdose deaths have dropped by nearly 50% since 2020 because of programs like this. Other traffic calming programs, neighborhood service division of our police department, retail fraud divisions of our police department. They're out there working with partners throughout the community. Like I said, it's multi-departmental. So we'll have code enforcement going aggressively enforcing code in our neighborhoods because we believe in the broken window theory, where if our neighborhoods start declining, then people take less pride in their neighborhoods, and crime will go up. So we have an incredibly progressive police department that's looking for ways to partner with other departments around our city and other police departments around the state. And honestly, I think we've got incredible citizens. We've got very active citizens who take pride in their community, and I have to give a lot of credit to our residents. We have Citizens on Patrol. These are volunteer organizations like Citizens on Patrol, the CERT program, which responds to emergencies. I'll give you a quick story. Last year, Citizens on Patrol, these are folks that regular residents who volunteer their time to be our eyes and ears. A resident named Scott Van Leuven was driving home from work. He saw a child abduction happening at one of our parks. He pulled into the park. He was able to save the kid, pull the kid out of the car, and disable the assailant and get him on the ground until the police arrived. This is just a regular resident, Scott Van Leuven.
Scott's a great guy. I remember talking to him a few days after it happened. We met in the park, and he talked about just being at the right place at the right time. But there's also an element of proactiveness, and the police department is there. But you mentioned it's also the cities too. It seems like everybody is kind of involved in this now.
Yeah, it's a multi-departmental goal to keep the city safe. You know, our engineering department is working on developing and designing roads where we're going to have fewer traffic accidents and fewer traffic fatalities. As I said, we're working with social organizations like Face Addiction Now to reduce the number of overdoses in Michigan. We're partnering with our schools every day to put police officers in our schools to patrol those areas, to make sure our kids are safe, crosswalks, you know, for kids crossing the street. So public safety isn't just about the bad guy with a gun.
Not just about cops showing up.
It's about every aspect of your life. Your drinking water has to be clean. Your roads have to be safe. Your schools have to be safe. So we take a holistic approach and look at every opportunity we can to keep our residents safe.
I think other cities could take a page out of your playbook.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, thank you very much. Appreciate your time this morning.
My pleasure.
Thank you.